Do you guys literally remember when a lot of celebrities came up online, did a compilation of videos saying, oh, they are humbled, they are sorry, they regret this, they regret that? A lot of celebrities, right? I don't know if you guys remember when that particular video was actually going viral, but if you do, let me know in the comment section. But if you did not remember, I'm going to do you a favor and play it first in the first part of my clips before I continue what actually brought us today. First of all, hi guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Sonia. If this is the first time tuning in, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And guys, in today's video, it is going to be juicy. I love it when I see white people realizing their self and then comment, pop, and play to say every single thing that you guys are about to say. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's giving me that sense of a lot of them are not seeing that that particular thing you are looking at, it is also facing you. So because it is facing you, the only thing you can do for yourself is to come up here and apologize to Black Americans. But anyways, when you watch this video, let me know what you think. Make sure you watch from beginning to the end because I just have few clips and let me know, because a lot of Black Americans are saying these people can never say something that is from their heart, but I don't know. Watch, let's see. Okay, thank you for always supporting, subscribing. Thank you for always dropping, joining my membership. Super thanks, I really appreciate. Let's get right into this video, and credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode.
Responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility. I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
For every time it was easier to ignore than to call it out for what it was.
Every not so funny joke. Every unfair stereotype.
Every blatant injustice, no matter how big or small.
Every time I remained silent.
Every time I explained away police brutality. Or turned a blind eye.
I take responsibility. Black people are being slaughtered in the streets, killed in their own homes. These are our brothers and sisters,
Our friends, our family. We are done watching them die. We are no longer bystanders. We will not be idle. Enough is enough.
I will no longer allow an unchecked moment. I will no longer allow racist, hurtful words, jokes.
I will not turn a blind eye. Going for a jog should not be a death sentence. Sleeping in your own home should not be a death sentence.
Playing video games with your nephew should not be a death sentence.
Shopping in a store should not be a death sentence. Business as usual should not be life-threatening. I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
I will stand against hate in love. I will make my presence known.
And killer cops must be prosecuted. They are murderers. We can turn the tide. It is time to take responsibility. Call out hate. Step up and take action.
Turn a blind eye. Going for a jog should not be a death sentence. Sleeping in your own home should not be a death sentence.
Playing video games with your nephew should not be a death sentence.
In recovery. If you haven't seen me before, hi, my name's Janelyn. I have been talking about how I was born and raised in the deep south, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, raised to be a racist, and how I've been dismantling that for the last 15 years. Let's talk about white privilege. I think a lot of white people don't want to accept this concept. I get it. I get why. Like, I'm thinking, I don't have white privilege. I haven't had anything handed to me. I've worked for everything I have. I have worked my ass off, and life has not been easy. I've been through a lot of shit. I get that. But what white privilege is not, it's not having your life handed to you on a silver platter. It doesn't mean you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It doesn't mean that you haven't worked really hard. It doesn't mean that you haven't experienced loss or failure. It doesn't mean that you haven't had significant obstacles to overcome. It simply means that the color of your skin did not add to those struggles. And I think this goes hand in hand with recognizing and admitting that we have systemic racism or racist laws, racist practices in this country. Because if you can understand that there is racist laws or racist culture, then you can understand why, as a white person, you would have white privilege. You are not subjected to those racist laws. I'm just hoping that somebody will see this and just understand a little bit better that the concept of white privilege, or you admitting that you have white privilege, does not negate any hard work that you've put into your life, and it doesn't negate your struggles or what you had to do to get where you are. It just means that people of color have another barrier.
White people who have deconstructed your racism, how did you realize? Like, what was your stepping stone that made you realize?
It was when a friend of mine openly admitted to being a racist. Something about that helped me realize that he wasn't saying he wanted to be a racist or that he thought negative thoughts about people of color, or especially black people. He was saying that he had been programmed a certain way by society, and that programming doesn't just magically disappear. People can't admit that they're a racist because they think that they're saying that they are a bad person, and their brains won't allow them to come to that conclusion. So if you talk about the racist programming that I carry in my skull, it makes it a little bit easier. It detaches it from your personhood, and it allows you to look at your racist conditioning a little bit more objectively, and you can see the actions and the thoughts and the behaviors and the words that you're using through this lens of like, oh, I've been programmed this way, and this is harmful. I can work on that.
Asking if I'm going to teach my family and peers about how racism is wrong. I'm trying, but I don't think that that's going to happen from one conversation. And I definitely don't think that like sitting some family or friends down and being like, you're a racist, that's bad, you shouldn't be that way. People just are going to dig in their heels, right? Nobody wants to be made to feel shameful about anything, and I don't want them to feel shame. And I know that's probably really hard to hear, and I don't expect Black people or people of color to have that same approach. I just come from a place where like I used to be there too, and I get it, and I know how we were raised and things we were taught and what the culture is like down here. So how I'm doing that is having just little conversations as things come up. I've not always felt comfortable to do that, but I am getting more comfortable with it. So I am trying. And, you know, the like old cliche, be the change you want to see in the world. Like I want to live through example and show people compassion and hope that they like see my heart and where I'm coming from. And that also like impresses upon them my thoughts and feelings and values. I know that like my closest circle of influence is my closest friends and family, and so I do want to have more of these conversations. But that's another reason that I'm doing this series, is that I'm hoping that I'm planting seeds. I don't think anybody changes overnight. Nobody sees one video, nobody has one conversation and has a change of heart. It's going to be a process over time. So I'm just hoping that I can plant those seeds. I think that white people hate Black people because of the color of their skin. It's just what we see to indicate bad people or people we don't like. It's just like the visual indicator. So it's not their skin color specifically. And honestly, I'm sure that this started with slavery, right? And It seems like it was a really long time ago, but it was not that many generations ago. And that's how we learn from our ancestors and generations before us. If you think about just like kids that are in an abusive household, they don't know any different. It's not until that they get older and they're like, oh, not everyone was beat or abused or whatever. It's similar. Like you grow up around it, and these stories come down generation from generation. So it's just like part of the culture. In this day and age, you would think that people could learn and know better a lot easier, but it's still like scientific fact or whatever that the most influential people in your life are your parents and those that you grow up around. So even in the age of the internet, if you are still being taught those things at home or in your close circles, that's going to make the most impression on you. And I think another reason or why it can be easy to hate Black people or for racism to perpetuate is it's much easier to hate someone that you've been taught to hate when you don't have any friends or people around in those communities. There are a lot of Black people in South Louisiana. When you grow up in a very segregated place and you don't have real connections with these people, it's easy to continue to have those thoughts because you don't have any personal experience that shows you anything different. It's easy to just continue to believe what you've been told by the people that you love and trust when you don't have any other evidence. And it's also easy to support these thoughts because of your confirmation bias. Like you're looking to support these theories out in the real world. And so if you see a Black person acting like an ass, instead of realizing that they're a human being and people can be an asshole, you attribute that to their Blackness, because then that confirms things that you've been.
Why are you not racist?
I am not a racist anymore because I have learned that we are all human. We are all part of the same human experience, and the color of someone's skin does not dictate who they are as a person, and it is not right or fair to paint any person in a broad brush based on their race. And I've just found a lot of the stuff that I was fed as a child and a young adult to be bullshit. And I've gotten to know a lot of people, Black people, all different people of color when I moved away from the South for about 8 years. And it just really changed my perspective, along with a lot of other things that I've read, people I've met over the years. So I am talking about all of that in my series, and I hope that you will check it out. Thanks. Hi, Black 1000. I answered this a little bit earlier today, but I was going to try to elaborate a little bit. From my experience, because I can't speak for everyone, all white people or their experiences, but from my experience, it was more taught to fear you than hate you. I was taught that you were dangerous, that you hated white people. I can remember being told that I couldn't go in certain parts of town because if I was just walking down the street, I would have been murdered or raped or something. It was just more the rhetoric in the background. Part of my white privilege is I can put down my anti-racist torch and not think about this because it's not negatively affecting me. In that, we also have white privilege in our racism because we don't have to carry it around all the time. It's not front of mind. It's not I was constantly being berated with bad rhetoric about Black people. It's always just in the background, being reinforced with racist jokes or racist comments about people, or using racial slurs to degrade people. So it still happens today. There's a park by my house and they have public events for Easter. They'll have an Easter egg hunt, but we go to them and it's predominantly Black people that attend. And I will have white people in my life when they'll be like, oh, what are you doing Saturday? I'm like, oh, we're going up to the park by our house. And they're like, you know, it gets really dark around there, which is now like code for there's too many black people. Or they'll be like, oh, it's really going to be really dark there. So why don't you go over to this part of town, to that park? And I'm just like, yeah, we've been many times. We enjoy it. That's why we're going. But it's just that constant, like, thread through, like, theme throughout. And I feel like some of that doesn't answer the question as to, like, why people feel that way. But again, it's just been ingrained in us since children to fear you, which easily turns to hate, right? If you are scared of them and think that they're going to like threaten your way of life or threaten your well-being, then you are going to hate them. And it's wild, and I'm trying to break down these barriers. I really just want people to see, like, push back on those thoughts, peel back the onion a little bit. Like, why do you have these thoughts? Where did they come from? Are they rooted in fact? Are they rooted in your experiences? And I've said this before, but when you isolate yourself away from a group that you have hatred for, whether it's black people or the LGBTQIA community or the trans community or Muslims or whoever, when you don't have actual experiences with these people on a regular basis, it is easy to continue to believe the bullshit that you've been told because you don't have anything to judge it against except for believing people you love and trust in your life that have told you these things. So more than anything, I encourage white people to engage with these communities, make friends, have experiences, build your own narrative, so at least it's built on something real and just not something that you've been told that's been passed down through generations that have been built on. This term racial signaling, it's something I just became familiar with, but it's a concept that I am very familiar with. And I'm wondering if you are familiar with it. Have you used these things before? So it's this idea that, like, you use coded words or like dog whistles to convey racist ideas or ideology or biases without having to outright say it. Some that I'm familiar with include saying somewhere is going to be dark, meaning there's going to be a lot of black people there. It means you're not going to go or you're not going to participate because you don't want to be around black people. Another one that I see used is just like a pause or like a look to convey something. Again, using that example of an event, like, hey, are you going to go to X, Y, and Z? No, I don't think we want to go. Another one that I see used is where they'll just like lean in and whisper or talk lower, like, are you going to go to that event? I just don't think that's our kind of place. Again, obviously, like signaling that there's this other message happening without actually having to say. If you have been questioning if you have some unconscious bias or maybe some racist ideology and you use some of these, I would encourage you to explore like why you feel this way or why you have to say things in hushed tones, and if there's some unconscious bias happening and if maybe you could explore that a little more. For me, trying to push back on some of these narratives and be an ally, be part of the solution. I would love to be able to have conversations with people in real time, in real life, when they're using some of these, but I feel like that's what makes it really hard, is they're not outright saying it. And if you've followed me at all and you've seen some of my other content, you know that I don't like to shame people. I'm not going to shame white people for their racist thoughts, for their unconscious bias. I want to meet people where they're at because I used to be there. I'm not judging. I am not going to shame you for it. And when some of these racial signaling dog whistles are happening and it's not being said outright, it's hard to initiate a conversation because it's easy to be like, oh, that's not what I meant, that's not what I was saying, and backpedal. And I am not one to be like, yes, it was. I am trying to learn how to be more assertive in those instances and push back and be assertive without being aggressive. Something that I'm working on, but I wanted to talk to you about this and see, do you use these things? Have you seen other people using them? Do you agree that like there's this underlying context?
Yesterday at the Christmas market in Taylor, Mississippi, I spoke with an older white man, and he talked to me about his journey from being truly an ultra-conservative right-wing person who saw a lot of life through the lens of race and made a lot of his political decisions through race, and the conversion that he went through. And I asked him, like, what was that conversion? And he said, well, something happened about 10 years ago, so actually kind of pre-MAGA. Something happened about 10 years ago that just got him thinking about life. And he's like, as a Christian and growing up in a small town, you're kind of told not to question. And I really hadn't ever, but when I started questioning, I had to start thinking. And when I started thinking, I recognized I was making choices that were putting me in a position above other people simply because of the color of my skin or the color of their skin. And I couldn't do that anymore. And it really changed him. And he actually said it's changed him to the point where he thinks about the decades and why it took him into his mid-50s to actually have that revelation. But also, it kind of makes sense because he goes on to tell me, while he had that revelation, he can't share that revelation in his community, and how he's moved away from that ultra-conservative view of politics and society and culture because it means it would sever him from his community, from his friends, from his family, from his church. And in his small town, where he will live, where he was born and where he'll most likely die, he personally can't afford to make that, to sever himself from that. And to me, it's a great story about his personal journey, but it's also strikingly sad, right? That he, even as a white guy who has roots in this deep community, can't fully express himself because he will be ostracized. And to me, that's like that, and again, it's deeply rooted stuff, but I think it's something that we all need to think about, right? And is there a requirement for him to stand up and to challenge his community? I don't know. I don't know if there's a duty, but I certainly understand his struggle. And we talked a little bit more because there's probably a lot of people like him who got to the point of questioning and didn't even decide to stop there, right? They didn't even take it to the next step of, well, let me question, let me start thinking, because they were afraid to get where he was or where he's at, right? Which is that place where he does think about it and knows how he's transformed and feels a little bit trapped in this world. And I want to create a world where we all appreciate questioning and we all appreciate thinking and we all believe that we can change. No fear, only love.
Anyways, I hope you guys have seen all of that video. The honest thing is, I love it when I see these white folks actually confessing. I love it when they realize all the single mistakes that they've literally made, and they're now coming to that realization and telling themselves, I am not supposed to be in this position. And I feel like most of the reasons why some of them are doing this is because they have also literally seen that a lot of black people are no longer keeping quiet, like unlike before, where social media eras were not really rampant. And you see, the reason why I keep saying in my videos that a lot of people that have work to do when it comes to these white folks are the parents, because you can listen from this woman's story where she literally talks about how she grew up in a home of racism, and now she's actually healing. It is just taking a process for her to heal on daily basis. I pray she heal completely, and I pray she is able to like help her kids as well, because I saw where someone actually dropped a comment for and be like, oh, now that you've totally you are on your healing process, what do you think you will be educating your kids all about? And the answer she gave is quite impressive, and of which I really love that. Like I said, it is not every single white folks that realize that racism is actually a big problem. A lot of them feel it is just comfortable, it is convenient, like it is just what they should do. In fact, it is what they must do. That is what a lot of them feel. But when I see people like this, trying to pull out content. I just can't wait but pull it out. That is why I asked the first question from the first side of my video, where I literally said, how many of you remembered when a lot of celebrities were gathering themselves, a lot of white folk celebrities gathered themselves to be like, oh, we are sorry for what is happening. I am sorry. I've never been in a position of this. I've never been in a position of that. And you've seen it from the first clip of the video. I just pray that those ones that did that confession are now being good, are now free, or are not doing anything racist, because it's not all about you confessing and then you go back and you're doing it behind the scene that we are not seeing you. That is the worst part. But like I keep saying in my video, this is why it is more important for us to keep preaching this racism of a thing, so that a lot of them will still be aware. A lot of them will know that this particular thing they are doing is not making sense, so that a lot of them will also know how to like put themselves in a certain position, not to just go ahead and just do every single thing that they are doing. And I can't lie to you, I really, really do applaud some of these white folks that are now realizing healing from racism, knowing that every single thing that they were taught by their parents should not be taught to their children. They should not literally even make their children see the bad side of what their parents have literally done to them. So that is absolutely a beautiful start, and I really, really, really applaud them for that. But anyways, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section, because I would really love to get your own opinion as well in the comment section. Do you think this their confession is actually going to be genuine? Do you think at some point they are still going to go back and still be that racist person that they are? Because I remember when this woman, this cannabis, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it very well, woman that was highly racist profile to some of these Somalians, a lot of them also came out to say, oh, it is actually not making sense. A lot of them said, it is even good. In fact, open a GoFundMe account, let's contribute. And in fact, she opened a GoFundMe account after she was sacked, and they contributed over $100,000, that is literally someone's one full-time salary for a year. Someone cannot, some people cannot even get that as a full salary for a year. I don't know, right? They contributed it for her just for being a highly racist profile. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that's why I said it is not easy for us to see these ones that are coming to be like they have realized themselves and they're no longer doing it. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking my videos, dropping commentaries, sharing my videos, and also supporting this channel. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you joining my membership. I do not take you for granted. To every single one of you dropping super thanks, I really do appreciate, and may your pockets never run dry. Anyways, with that being said, credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments. And lastly, do not forget to share for every other person to get this good news. Yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I like I say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah. Give it a thumbs up.